Welcome to this new episode of First Sip, then SAP. Today, we are exploring the ERP transformation journey for Belgium small and medium enterprises. With digital transformation at a critical stage, businesses are awaiting the promises of technology such as AI against the realities of data quality and process maturity. To help us uncover these complexities, I'm joined by two experts in the field. Please welcome Sofie Defraeye from Horsum and Johan Reunis from TriFinance to deep dive in the challenges they experience as ERP selection partners. The idea to organize the podcast is based on a roundtable event we organized for all Amista selection partners, including Johan and Sofie. In this podcast, we will mainly focus on data and AI, cost and change. All other key findings have been bundled in a white paper, and if you send us an email, we will get you a copy of the document. My name is Roland Keppens, Head of Business Development at Amista, and your host for today. So let's take a sip and then get started. Sofie, Johan, thank you so much for participating in this session. Sofie, can you tell us something about yourself and about Horsum?
Okay, thank you, Roland. I'm Sofie. I'm managing partner at Horsum, which is a small boutique consulting firm. We are about 20 consultants large, and we are part of Van den Notte Group. What we do is we provide guidance towards SMEs in Flanders to help them throughout the digital transformation processes. We start from business process optimization kind of projects and evolve towards toolings and digital transformation, because toolings are most common an answer to inefficiencies, to process optimization and so on. We help them implement the tools. We are not an implementator, but we are an independent project manager in that part. And when you have data, when you have collected them, when you have data quality, we provide insights with Power BI dashboarding. That's about what we do.
Okay, amazing.
And SMEs contact us because, they know they want to transform, they need transformation, but in the current IT landscape, there are a lot of toolings, a lot of vendors, a lot of parties, a lot of things which are emerging and evolving, and they need some guidance. How do I start with something like that? I'm sometimes blindsided because I'm already working for 20 years in my company. Maybe I need some fresh refreshment, some fresh air, some fresh looks, and so on. So that's what we do.
Thank you. Johan, how about you and TriFinance?
Well, I'm the expert practice lead for business integration at TriFinance. So we're part of the larger TriFinance organization, where we do both placement of finance profiles for interim assignments, but we are focusing on the consultancy. So we're helping our customers throughout actually the entire ERP implementation journey, from selection all the way through go live, hypercare, and even optimizations after the implementation. So we are focusing really on the selection, on identifying the key processes of companies and identifying, how do we make a difference in our market, and what are the things activities and the functionalities we need from a tool that really support those processes that make the difference in the market. And based on that, we try help them to select the right tools, but also the right partner, because either you can select the right tool, but if you have the wrong partner, then the tool won't work as well. So we're focusing really on the combination of the tool and the partner to ensure that the solution that we implement at the customer is correct. And as I say, we are not an implementation partner. Like Horsum, we don't implement software, so we're totally software independent. We're not focused on any tool in the market. We look really at what's the most applicable tool or the best tool, and to support the processes of the customer. So it's really independent on what tool it is.
Is this something SMEs tend to forget? You're talking about the right technology, but maybe forgetting the right partner, because that is something you are really focusing on.
we notice that before we come in, and they've already looked at a lot of tools mostly, and have invited a lot of companies to provide them with demos and to say, okay, how does my tool support you? But they're not really looking at and at first they're confused because they say we got demos from all different tools and they all claim that they can support us, and when we look at them, they all seem to be able to support us, but how can we differentiate between those tools? And that's where we come in and then identify, say, okay, these are the key requirements for you that you need to focus on. But they really focus on the tools. They're on, okay, is it SAP, is it Microsoft, is it NetSuite, is it Odoo that we need? And forgetting, okay, it's the experience of the partner in my sector, the experience of the partner with my type of company, the fit of the partner with the culture of the company, which is also very important because the partner needs to work with the people in the company. And we come back to that later, I think, in the conversation around change. So it's also that change is also finding the right partner who can understand how the company works, how the culture works, how the people think, how to effectively focus on and implement it in the right way.
Perfect. Makes sense. Thanks. Sofie, one of the topics we discussed during the roundtable event, quite an animated discussion, was data first. We all kind of agreed that before progressing to advanced technologies such as AI, companies should first of all establish a solid data foundation, quality data, clear processes, sound governance. In your opinion, why is the data first approach so essential for a successful ERP transformation?
Data first is very important because I always advise my clients to start with to begin with the end in mind. If you implement something new or a new tooling, you want insights afterwards. And if you don't reflect good on your insights you want to have or on the tendencies you want to check upon, then you might forget some analytical dimensions, some key master data, which are required in your new ERP system. So reflecting on the reports, on the insights you want afterwards is necessary as a step towards digital transformation. But also when you already have an old system in place and you want to migrate your data, the cleansing of the data you want to migrate, to reflect upon how much history you want to take over in your new ERP system. A useful exercise for companies, and they do not always know how to start on the data migration as well. And what we see is with SMEs and the AI buzzword these days is that you really have to be patient as an SME to start with the foundation. Sometimes you have the tendency to work in Excel or on paper, and then the next step is AI. No, you do have to have processes first to capture your data, to make sure that the quality is okay. And even if you're a bigger SME, then a master data manager might be useful as well to check, to reflect upon the data. So begin with the end in mind, reflect on the insights you want, and make sure you capture them throughout the digital transformation project is quite necessary.
Yeah, we discussed the fear of missing out when it comes to AI. I had a discussion yesterday with someone in my team, and he said, well, we received an RFP from a company and they really want to do something with AI. But okay, what do they want to do? What are the steps? Is there a solid data foundation? No idea. To be discovered. Johan, your opinion, how should SMEs transition from this, let's call it, stabilization phase to adopting technical advancements?
Well, I think I agreed with what Sofie said, is that and with what you said, the fear of missing out. So AI is very much a hype now, and people are really saying we need AI, or we're missing out, or we're missing the train, and we will be not competitive anymore. But it's very much about identifying really small scope use cases. Okay, what can we do with AI? What will it bring us? What is a specific scope, a specific use case that we have in our company where we can start applying that technology and more advanced technology than what we now have? And as Sofie said, when you go transitioning from an Excel to an advanced AI, it doesn't make sense because the step is too big, and then you'll anyway lose the people in the organization, and you will try to jump before you can walk. And then it's really about identifying, okay, what really will drive value for a company. Start small, start with a specific scope, a specific use case that is in a specific department, a specific process, specific activity, and then learn from there, and then start building and say, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't work for my company, because it's not just a one size fits all. What works for one company doesn't necessarily work for another company. So it's really about starting to build that experience and, I say fail fast, and change and say, okay, what works, what doesn't work, but not try to put everything into AI, and also not try to expect the world from AI. It's not going to solve all your problems. It's also about processes. It's also about people. It's helping those processes and those people and supporting them. It's not the holy grail, but it's what the main thing is. What I can recommend, as I said, is really be specific, have a small use case with a scope, and start building from there. That's the main point.
Yeah, from my experience as well, we see that a lot of companies, they want to do something with AI because of a selection procedure for an ERP. But the better examples are some of our customers who said, well, we have been doing this since quite some time. It's embedded in the culture. We want to use tech and AI to start small. AI embedded in a customer service department, for example, and that works quite well. So then you have the foundation right, and you can start building on that foundation with bigger projects.
Yeah, and even I had a conversation with someone from a larger company actually who said, okay, we implemented predictive analytics and okay, what do we need to do and to help us steer the business. I said, well, it took us a year and a half to get the model right and to get the right results out of that AI model. So don't expect short-term benefits. It takes investment, it takes analysis, it takes tweaking. So it's not that it's implementing AI and everything will be fine. It's really, you need to have a process around it and really invest in it. So that's so it will also, if that's true for a large company, it will be true for an SME as well. So
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
You also have to feed the AI. If you have to decide on what basis you will let the AI do the work, what's the data we will manage to let the AI bot or agent do the work, but then also train the AI agent. If he's giving you the wrong output, you have to correct him and give him some new information to get better results in the end. But doing that during a digital transformation, when you transform from Excel towards a new ERP system, and then already taking the loophole to implement AI agents, it's too many steps at once.
Yeah, correct.
So first do the normal things in the ERP system, and then start reflecting on which tasks are repetitive, which tasks I do not have added value in, and then you can start reflecting on AI agents, as Johan is mentioning, and start small. I do agree on that part as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Another key topic we discussed is cost evaluation. And the discussion emphasized the need to consider TCO rather than just the upfront investment. I was a bit surprised because from my perspective, I assumed and I also saw that companies also look at TCO. Can you share with us what is usually missing? A TCO is an important concept for SMEs, but at the same way, too much forgotten and overlooked. What is the reason? Any idea?
Well, I think it's also changing. The landscape is changing around TCO and implementation costs with the move to the cloud. So it will be the licensing and the cost of an ERP implementation is moving more from the upfront investment, kind of one-off investment, to this license yearly based cost that you have. So I think there will be a natural tendency to focus more on the TCO, because it's the cost of the majority of the cost will be during the lifetime of that of the ERP. Why is it not the case at the moment? I think it's maybe not seen as an asset like any other asset, while actually ERP is some kind of asset that you have and which you're using for a long time in your company, and maybe that realization is not really there yet. But I think people will need to move in that direction, as I said, with the costs that are changing, and that will help to calculate the TCO, because then you will need to. On the other hand, there's another evolution we see, is that most or some of the ERPs, and then most will follow, I think, will go from that yearly license based on users or based on the type of users to usage-based licensing or costing, where it depends on how many transactions do you do, how many things you use, also with AI, how many calls you make on certain that it's based there, and that will make it more difficult, I think, for companies also to assess the costs of the ERP over the long term, because then they will need to make an assessment or an assumption on, okay, how will my business evolve? How many transactions will I have? I've got now maybe, I don't know, 500,000, 1 million. Well, we'll have 5 million in the future, or will that stay 1 million? It's really, it will make it difficult to make an assessment between the different ERPs with that cost evolution on, okay, what really, how do I compare them? And that's will be a challenge. I think that's where we, as a selection partner, really have an added value to play to help customers in assessing that and building models or scenarios. Okay, if we have these different scenarios, what will that mean for the cost of your ERP? So we will need to move naturally, I think, to a more TCO thinking because of the costing of the ERPs. But companies will need to be supported by that and need to be guided, because it will become more difficult in that area.
Yeah, good point. I think that this is also where the value lies for us as a technology implementation company, Amista, and you. You are much more a trusted advisor because you are in the early stages of the selection procedure. You are involved. You can also emphasize on the importance of TCO, the total cost of a project, whereas we are mainly also in the beginning more like a commercial partner. When they look at us, price is really key, but you can emphasize on the importance of looking long term.
Yes, and we do compare the TCOs across the different parties as well. And some have the tendency to forget about supporting costs or hosting costs or whatsoever. Yeah. So our role is to make sure that we have a complete overview of the costs concerned towards digital transformation, one thing. I do agree on Johan that it's the bridge to the cloud is also making a huge difference, but also in the past you had more the all-in-one systems where it was more easy to calculate your TCO. We have the tendency now that ERP is less core than it used to be with different apps and add-ons aside. So you also have to calculate those apps and add-ons and those licenses which are involved as well. So it's beginning to come more complex than it used to be as well.
Yeah, I agree. Indeed, that's an additional complexity. It's becoming. ERP is become from a monolithic system to an ecosystem of different apps, and that's choosing the right app for them. And it's not always easy.
That, and you have also the tendency to fit to standard, where less measure sur mesure is involved, but then some partners are doing that well in some kind of layer where they put all the measure work into. Other ones are keeping that in the core, but then the support costs evolve over time, and that's something a lot of parties and customers forget to take into account.
Let's take a deeper dive in a topic that is often the make or break factor in digital transformation, which is user adoption and change readiness. We often talk about robust systems, data, technology, and so on. But what happens if the people using them are not fully on board? If embracing those technologies is not part of the package, as a matter of speaking? Sofie, can you maybe share your thoughts on why digital adoption and change readiness are so vital to the success of an ERP transformation, and at the same time so often ignored?
It's clear without involvement, it's a recipe for disaster or failure. If you read about the 10 pitfalls of ERP implementation, it's adoption and it's tone at the top. So it's in our role, I think, to involve management at first. They have to be convinced that it's a good investment. If they are not convinced about digital transformation, then it's difficult to expose that top down as well. But it should not only be an exercise of top management. That's also a pitfall. If it's decided within top management, they often forget the efficiency or the impact on the work floor as well. So what we do to avoid that is start to select key users from the start. So if we interview them to understand how their processes work, we have the tendency to sit next to them to really look into the system, what are the papers they keep apart, so that we do really understand how it works on the work floor. And we involve them even in workshops if we want to maybe transform a bit the processes to fit better to the standards. They have to be aware as well. And also during demos, we have the tendency to involve them to see how their work could be transformed into a new way of working into the new system. So that's what we do in the pre-selection traject, let's say, involve as much as possible the end users and make them also the change agents within the organization. If they are convinced that the solution might help them in their day-to-day operations and they express that towards their colleagues, it's more powerful than top management who is from top to down explaining why we should have digital transformation and a new system in place. So that's what we do from the beginning. And during the implementation, UAT and key user testing is also crucial. And then for larger companies, we do have the tendency to involve change agents as well. But our customers are more like the small, medium enterprises in Flanders. So it's more difficult to convince them to have additional consulting on that part beyond what we are doing already during the process. So that's a bit the difficulty. Everyone is aware that they should involve the right person, that change is important, but then making the investment of an additional consulting focusing on change, that's something which is quite difficult, I have the impression.
Johan, during the roundtable, you told us that at TriFinance, this part of learning change adoption is a vital part of what you offer to your customers. Can you maybe elaborate a bit on this?
Right, it's similar to what Sofie was saying, and that indeed change starts at the start, really at the start. It's not when you start implementing that then you think about, okay, and what's our change approach is going to be, because then you're already, and then you may already have lost a couple of people in the organization because they say, why are we starting this implementation? I don't know, I don't see the benefit. So it really starts there. And so what we often do is that we provide some kind of analysis where we say, okay, how ready is the organization for this project? What's the feeling in the organization about projects like this? And also to measure how have these kind of digital transformation or other change projects been handled in the past. So to feel what is the perception of people in the organization when we go through this transition, how will it be handled? Because as Sofie said, the involvement of the top management is very important, but also involvement of the people in the organization, the key users, that they also are heard, that they are consulted, that they are really active in the project. And sometimes there's organizations have a bad track record about those implementations. And when you start a new project, people remember the track record of the organization, and they don't start with a blank slate. They already start with a pre-perception of how the project is going to be handled. And taking that into account and having there a clear view on, okay, how is now the perception of people against such a project? Do they feel that there's a trust that they will be guided through that change, that they will be supported through that change? Because that's the main word. And I mean, there's plenty of change models and change principles, but it all boils down to trust. People having trust that they will be guided through that process, that they will be supported, that they will be trained to have new skills, that if they are concerned, that they will be heard, that they will be able to voice their concerns, that they will be that will be taken into account. So it's gauging that, how is the level of trust of your organization now before you start the project, and where are the areas where there's some concern about and what do we need to do in this project? How do we need to govern it? What people do we need to involve? What's the structure of the project? What's the approach to tackle those concerns and do it better in this project and give people the feeling, okay, we've learned from our mistakes in the past. We're going to tackle it differently now. And that's where we often provide the guidance. Then, okay, these are the things that we would recommend you to do. As Sofie said, it's sometimes difficult to to convince people of the importance. There, some people say, okay, fine. It's a new system. And whether they use Microsoft or whether they use SAP, they will learn. Then it's not that important to really guide them. But and that's the perception. It's not an IT project. It's a business project, and that's what we also communicate quite heavily at the start of the project. This is not a technology project. This is really a business project which will improve your business. Mm-hmm.
Also, you can put a lot of efforts in making them aware of what the impact might be on their day-to-day operations. But sometimes you also have to have the guts, in my opinion. If you can't change them, you have to change them as well. Because you have to keep in mind the broader perspective and the overall goal of what the transformation is all about. And sometimes people do have the tendency to keep the way of working they used to had within the new system, and then you might do every effort you want to do on change. Sometimes the solution is change them.
And do you see some change compared to 1, 2, 3, 5 years ago in this learning and change maturity? Is it more on the top of the agenda when selecting a new ERP system, for example, or is it still the same as a couple of years ago?
We do have the tendency to see that there's more attention towards change. The fact that we already can involve key users at the start of the process is something which is evolving, in my opinion. But then again, the additional investment cost of a full-time or part-time change manager, that's one thing that's maybe out of their league. Where do we see that? That's in larger companies where they more have the funding, I think, to support those processes. Again, within SMEs, it's more like, okay, that's the way we want to go forward. We will do our effort to involve you, but if you don't want to get involved, then that's about it.
Yeah, it's the same we see as well. It's really, there's a slight improvement. But I think also what's really hampering sometimes is the perception of the word change management, and that's sometimes when we feel that the organization is a bit reluctant and saying, well, change management it's making everyone feel happy in the organization, which it is not. But that's another discussion, I think. But then we just don't talk about change management. Right? We talk about the activities that we need or that we see that are required to make the project a success, and we embed them in our project management approach and our approach of supporting the customer without really putting the label on it. Okay, this is a change management activity, because that sometimes creates resistance, and so it's also change, and so it creates resistance with people on change management. We don't really want it. I don't see the benefit of it, and that helps if you can embed it a bit stealthily into your approach. Then you can do those activities, because most people see the benefit of the activities. They also sometimes don't like the label, and that's something that we can support and to really achieve that change management without naming it change management.
Fully agree on that part. What is change management? I used to work at a larger company, and there the change management was indeed every month I had to fill out a questionnaire about my hopes and fears towards the ERP transformation project. And then I was a bit reluctant as well. I have to complete a survey again. What's the use? But if we as a implementation partner can guide them throughout the UAT testing to really feel where is someone reluctant in following the processes within the new ERP system, that's also change, and without the label change management. So that's the way I think we both proceed in embedding change without calling it change management.
Yeah.
Still some work at the table. That's also our experience. So we discussed data AI, we discussed cost and change. Those were also the main topics during the roundtable we organized a while ago. Now, as we look into the future, what emerging technologies or trends should SMEs keep on the radar to stay ahead of the curve in digital transformation? We had AI already. Is there something else that you see in RFP procedures, something that your clients are approaching you about?
We had a discussion during the roundtable. What is CRM and what is ERP?
Yeah.
So making a clear distinction on what you can expect from CRM and ERP is something that we also take into account. Other technologies, they do ask us, will AI in the future replace ERP as a core system? Do I really need to invest in ERP systems? That's also a question we have to answer upon. We also see tendencies to implement more plain vanilla as fit to standard, and then after 3 or 6 months we will evaluate which automatizations do we want, which AI agents we can embed maybe. These are mostly the questions we get from our customers at this point in time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also really about AI, and also, as you mentioned, more the ecosystem. So about the question, okay, we've got our ERP, which is then mainly supporting the core, and what do we then still need for those specific processes, specific functionalities we need that might not be covered by standard ERP, which is that is also a question you get. I think if you say might add a non-technology aspect to that, is that, in my view, it also will require SMEs to think about, strategically think about their recruitment policy and the type of profiles they need in their teams. Because with the evolution of the technology, with the evolution of how ERP and the ecosystem around ERP works, you will need a different type of person in your organization than what you have now. So it's not purely technology related, but it really is an impact, and it really is a consequence of the technology that spans beyond purely the IT area, and that also has an impact on your broader organization and the type of people you have in that organization. So that's an important thing to also take into account, which most people not really think about. They think about the technology, but not on the impact of that technology on their organization and the people in their organization.
But that is also related with the tendency, bridge to the cloud. In the past, the IT department was more like infrastructure department, where you had servers in place, the security walls, Active Directory, and so on was maintained within the IT department. Yeah, they have to move towards another skill set as well in the current days. And I had the pleasure to attend an event a couple of weeks ago with the future of software development in light of AI. And there it was also mentioned as a tendency that, where now IT is mostly taking the lead in digital transformation, you see the tendency that more and more business will take the lead, because you and I will be able to implement low-code or no-code kind of things to help us in our day-to-day businesses. So it will be more supported by business than IT.
What can we as Amista learn based on your experiences? Because it's a highly competitive world from a technology perspective, also from a partner perspective. We have our USPs, other companies have them as well. Where do you think that we can add value to companies selecting an ERP technology or any other technology, basically?
Well, as I said, our focus in selection tracks is both on the technology and on the partner. I think the added value of partners is, of course, next to the knowledge of the system, also the knowledge of the sector of the customer, the knowledge of the specific challenges that the customer is facing in that sector, in that activity, and really focusing and specializing in a specific type of companies will enhance, of course, the value you can bring, to that as an implementation partner to that customer, because you know the challenges they face. You've already encountered them, you've solved them, and you have the knowledge there to really support them. It's people are now looking really for a partner who can support them and who understands them, rather than purely someone who knows the system well, because everyone knows the system well, or should know the system well. But it's really that business knowledge and the business acumen that makes the difference, in my view.
So looking at the verticals, industry expertise, make sure you have the right references. Sofie, your opinion?
And starting from pre-sales onwards, as we mentioned in the beginning, sometimes our customers have already got a lot of interviews and a lot of demos. I think one suggestion over there is from pre-sales onwards, use your specific sector knowledge to convince them. Also, client references, talk, references, visits. Those are the things that might convince a customer even more than your own explanation or how do you tackle a project. And I think with Amista, this is already evolving in the good direction.
That's positive news. Great insights. With these emerging trends, this piece of advice towards Amista and other partners, of course. One thing is clear, the journey of transformation is continuous, adapting and evolving as technology progresses will be the key to long-term success. Well, Johan and Sofie, thank you so much for participating in this episode of First Sip, then SAP. I hope we can meet again in the future for vivid discussions and exciting projects, which wraps up this extended discussion for ERP transformation for SMEs. Thank you so much for listening and viewing, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.